Hello, everybody. Welcome to my first ever commentary track for Man of Steel. This is a series that I kind of want to test the waters and see if this is something that I would be interested in doing in the future. I really just genuinely love commentary tracks in general. I like hearing people's thoughts on movies, specifically directors, but I also thought it would be an interesting idea of getting my thoughts and opinions across in a very different way because recently I reviewed Man of Steel in the lead up to Zack Snyder's Justice League, and obviously, when you're doing a review, there's a lot of things going through your head as you're watching a film that don't end up in the review. You either forget about it or you just don't know a way of fitting it all in. I mean, you're basically taking a 2 hour film and, talking about it for only a couple of minutes, and that's really hard to do. So, I thought this would be an interesting way of talking about the film and talking about what I love and don't love, particularly about this film, which I still genuinely like this film for the most part. I have some problems with it, but we might be getting into those a little bit later. But yeah, so basically what I'm going to be doing here is going to be talking about the movie, and I've got it set up here on HBO Max, and I've got it paused right now at the 1 second mark. So those of you that want to watch along and listen to my commentary, you can do that. You can sync yourselves up. In fact, I'll probably put a time code in the description for this video when it's uploaded so that everybody will know exactly when to start, and you should be sort of around the same ballpark as I am. So, yeah, let's get started. I'm actually excited to test this out. I can't say it'll be perfect. Sometimes I might not know exactly what to say, but we'll get through it and let's just kind of enjoy the movie and you guys can hear my thoughts. So I am going to start the movie in three, two, one, play. All right, starting out with the Warner Brothers logo with some Kryptonian type of language on it. Generally think that this is a really kind of cool uh, set of logos. Just it's kind of unique as compared to something like the Dark Knight movies, which were pretty standard. It gives it its own unique feel and identity, which I like. And, there's Syncope, Christopher Nolan's production company, which helped in the making of this movie. And like with all Superman origin stories, you start out on Krypton. This time with the birth of Superman himself, which I think is a really great way of starting out the movie. And, there's good old Russell Crowe as Jor-El, which I think was a really good choice as Jor-El. I mean, if you want somebody that's obviously not going to be Marlon Brando, but get somebody that's recognizable and can play this kind of stoic father figure, I think you can't go wrong with Russell Crowe. There's Kal-El himself, the boy that will change the fate of the world forever. I genuinely really like the opening of this film with a lot of the stuff going on Krypton. It's just a nice little thing and could be a movie on its own. A lot of these shots of Krypton are honestly extremely beautiful to look at. The sunset and the architecture, the costumes, like this whole kind of council scene. I love the design of just the set itself and the costumes, as weird as they are. And here is my first problem with the movie. This movie should not have been filmed handheld with one camera. It just it becomes nauseating for a little bit. It's not as bad here as people try to make it out to be, but definitely I think we could have gone with a more stilted camera that was a lot smoother and not handheld. But there's the true hero of the movie, General Zod. I love Michael Shannon in this movie. He is, to me, the best part of the movie. He's such a fun villain, and he plays it almost like a Shakespearean villain in a way. He's a very complex guy and a brute at that. He just does a good job, and I think the movie does a really good job of showing to us his motivations and what drives him. But M- Michael Shannon is great. Um, he's scary. He's threatening. He is a force to be reckoned with. And, let's see. Now we get to see Jor-El being a badass, which is something we've never really seen before. Yeah, I like this stuff with the opening. It's just a really fun, weird sci-fi. I like that Krypton is very different in this movie than it is in incarnations that we've seen before. The most iconic being the one in Superman the movie. Um, it gives it its own unique flavor. There's nothing like truly unique about it, but it's just a new, interesting setting, and I like the idea that Krypton is literally falling apart with like civil war. But if I do have to make one complaint, it is that I think this first like 10-15 minutes on Krypton is just filled to the brim with just a little too much going on. They have a lot of stuff going on here, like the fact that Krypton is about to explode, that there's an insurrection going on, that Superman is born and that he's the first natural birth in centuries, and this whole thing with the Codex. It's just there's a lot of plot going on here, and it's maybe just a little too much. I think they could have cut this down to just a couple of ideas, one or two ideas. Instead, they kind of just do every single one of them, and it to me it's just a little too much. But like I'm not a huge fan of the whole codex thing that like it's going to live inside Superman. Um, to me, it feels like a plot device that isn't as thought through as it should have been. I mean, obviously it has a purpose in the film, but I'm just saying you could have done without it and the movie wouldn't have changed that much. Which I guess for some people might be a positive because it wouldn't change the movie that much. I do genuinely like these um avatar like creatures that um Jor-El's flying around on. There's just something fun and just weird sci-fi stuff going on here that I don't know, just makes this whole thing entertaining. Although like I can't say I'm like truly like emotionally invested in what's going on. Okay, that shot. Some of these shots are just absolutely beautiful. When it gets away from like the handheld feel and everything, and like scenes just get to breathe like that, it's really good. Like this is something like I genuinely do like the attempt at the idea of like kind of seeing Superman as a god figure instead of just this man that can do superhuman things. I just feel like it's not as developed as much as people seem to think it is. It's hinted at. It's just I wish there was more to it. There's that Hans Zimmer music coming in with the humming. I This is a really good scene. You really begin to feel the importance of the situation and like the importance of like Superman is the last son of this race that is about to be destroyed, and these parents are never going to see their child ever again. And like it's kind of sappy. Um, it's obviously just trying to tug at the heartstrings, but I don't know. I think with the music and the performances, it sells the scene really well, and I'm genuinely heartbroken. I understand why people love parts of this movie, because this stuff is pretty good. I love that line from Russell Crowe. Goodbye, my son. Our hopes and dreams travel with you. It's so good. That music. Oh, oh man, I love the music in this. It's such an underrated Hans Zimmer score. It's got some personality to it. Oh yeah, Jor-El suiting up in his CGI armor that just looks so badass. I mean, you can't tell me this armor doesn't look cool. But it is very odd going from a very emotional scene to another action bit. Let's see. I also love like how the music ramps up. Also, something I like, I mean, people have obviously picked this out before, but I like that each house on Krypton has their own kind of crest. Like, um, the House of L has the S symbol, and Zod has his own crest. It's not as cool looking as that big giant S, but you know, I do like that it tells a story without, you know, really saying anything. Um, Movies should be, you know, told visually. Nice, cool hand-to-hand combat. Sometimes it's a little haphazard with the editing, but I think it sells kind of the visceral nature of the scene. It's a very kind of brutal fight. I think they do such a good job of setting up Zod's character in this kind of extended opening because we see like yeah he's definitely a bad dude, but he is doing what he thinks is right. I think, well, no villain thinks they're doing the wrong thing, but it's good in this instance. And I like to think that Zod is obviously kind of upset that he killed Jor-El in this moment. Like, it's just one of those fits of anger he's in, and he takes it out on him. I don't think, though, that it creates a very emotional end to Russell Crowe's character in the film. That is something that I would have loved if Russell Crowe could somehow return in like Justice League or something. Like, I don't know. I just think it would be cool to see him again. I mean, they brought back Kevin Costner for BVS, so I mean, why not Russell Crowe? Unless you know they can't get him or he doesn't want it, or he's a bit too chubby for the role now. I love that shot of Zod looking up. Michael Shannon just looks so like angry. Basically, in the end, what this opening of Man of Steel is probably a little overlong, more complex version of what is seen in Superman the movie. It's a good opening, I think, but it just has a little too much going on, for me at least. Um, but yeah, overall, overall it works. I love just how angry he gets. Just that line, "I will find him." Superman. I mean, Zod is just a great villain in this instance. see, I'm gonna get out of Discord here on my computer because I don't want anything disturbing us while we watch the movie. There we go. Have our villains enter the Phantom Zone. They're gone, guys. They're not going to be coming back. Uh, that's the end of Zod for the movie. I hope you enjoyed him. He was a pretty good guy. Nah, he'll be back. There, there is this great moment right here. Um, I love that Laura has just kind of she knows there's no hope, and she's just kind of accepted her fate as she's watching her planet literally crumble before her eyes. Make a better world than ours, Cal. I I love that because oh man, it's so good. Like I think to me, this movie does some stuff wrong and everything, but like when it gets something right, it genuinely I think gets it right. And obviously they wanted a Superman movie that just was not necessarily darker, but had some more meat to it. And I think in instances like that, it works. Now we get Superman crashing to Earth, passing by a barn, into a field, and ship. Uh, those of you that don't know, that's a callback to Superman Birthright. Because the beginning of that comic shows a ship crashing to Earth, and then it cuts to present day with Clark Kent in I think Africa in that graphic novel. But still, I really like that they did that. But now we see Superman or Clark Kent grown up, a loner in the world, just trying to find his place. And I think it's a good attempt. It's a great idea that I don't think the movie explores enough. Get Superman saving some people. I like that image of like him just being on fire. It doesn't look that great, but it's a really cool image. And if anybody knows Zack Snyder, he's all about making a cool image, and I mean, he's pretty good at it. Um, but yeah, nice little action scene. great thing about, a modern Superman movie is, you can do some things that you couldn't have possibly done before. I love that image of him in the water just kind of sinking. It's Now we get to our flashback, our first flashback of a couple throughout the movie. Obviously, this is them trying to do kind of the Batman Begins thing with the flashbacks, and I feel like it doesn't work as well in this movie. To me, it really tied into the character, like having us really learn about the character as he grew, and we see how he got to where he was. But they don't do that here. We just kind of see some instances in Superman's life, but we don't really see how he got to where he was like we kind of do with Bruce Wayne and Batman Begins. That said, I do like these small little episodes, but I don't think they're implemented as well into the movie as they could have been. Like, why are we having this scene right here? Why is it this scene we're being shown? But I do like the idea that he's starting to kind of understand his powers a little bit, and like he's having kind of this sensory overload, seeing his teacher, like seeing like her heart and her muscles and stuff. It's really disturbing, honestly. We get Diane Lane, who is a really good Ma Kent. I think all the acting choices in this movie are like really good. Oh, whale. and, but in a flashback, I have Superman just stealing people's clothing. Because why not? I know there's like people out there that are like gonna criticize this moment, and like I guess they have their own reasons and everything. But here's the thing: it's Zack Snyder's interpretation. You don't have to like his interpretation, but like just in his world, his Superman is gonna you know take some clothing. And the movie doesn't really paint this as like bad or anything. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay, I will say like that moment in particular, I do kind of like that he at least sees the bus, and that thought returns to him of like this moment in his past. Dick Splash, really, really awful line. Don't like it that much. Who's ever said Dick Splash? I don't know. All right, all right. Is he gonna save the day? Let's hope so, because don't want anybody to die. But like I do like these instances where it's like Clark has no choice but to do the right thing, um, even if it threatens him being seen. Now I'm not sure. Is that supposed to be Lana Lang? I'm not sure. My guess is yes. Maybe somebody that watches this will confirm it. But I like that, he even saves the bully because he wants to do the right thing. There is Kevin Costner, and another really good choice for Pocket. I like Kevin Costner a lot, and I think he does the controversial scene that's in this movie really well. I just have never understood the controversy with this scene coming up. Because the fact that he doesn't have all the answers is really interesting to me. Because Pa Kent, especially in this universe, like he doesn't need to have all the answers. He just doesn't know what the right answer is. Because he doesn't want his son to be seen. He's afraid of what people are going to think of him. But again, I'll criticize some of the movie with this. A lot of these flashbacks, um, and like a lot of the scenes between father and son are like, you were meant to do great things. Someday you're gonna do some great things, Clark. Um, a lot of that stuff, it just feels really repetitious and just it's just them kind of saying the same thing over and over, but in different ways. I know people joke about this part, which, I mean, it is funny. Like, he gives a medal to somebody, and it's like, oh, this isn't on the periodic table. Yeah, here, keep it. I mean, obviously that wouldn't happen, but you know, it's a dang movie, guys. Like, are we really gonna pick this movie apart like piece by piece with these little kind of nitpicks and say that there are legit problems with the movie? No, no. Honestly, like I like these scenes with the Kent family a lot to the point like I wish there was more of them in the movie. Kevin Costner really sells this scene too. I think he's just so good at conveying all these like emotions of like, what would it be like to tell your son that you're an alien or that you're not his real father, but you're still deep down a father to him. I will say too, we spend so much time like figuring out who Clark Kent, was as a kid growing up, that we don't really know who he is now. We don't really get a entrance into like what his personality is. Um, I feel like if there was more scenes with more characterization of him early on in like this part of the movie, I think it could have helped some things out. Because he's to me, he's not given that much here, and I think it hurts how at least I feel about him in the rest of the movie. But that it's just me. I do think this is hilarious that he, lashes out in this anger. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Superman shouldn't do this." I'm like, well, he's not Superman yet. Um, and also different interpretation. Mm, you have to respect the interpretation. You don't have to like it though. There we go. Lois Lane, played by Amy Adams. Like her in this movie a lot. Very different Lois Lane, but I like how snarky she is. I don't know, she just plays this really well. I'm also not big into the whole color palette. That is something can't believe I haven't mentioned yet. But yeah. I mean, all Snyder films are this way. He definitely has his own style and his own look and everything that he wants to convey, but to me, the movie's just too blue, too gray. It's just it's not a great film to look at. There are moments though where I think the visuals are so powerful and good to look at. Like on Krypton, I think Krypton looks visually great. You know, I'm not too big of a fan of the look of the film, and not too big of a fan of like the cinematography. For the most part, there's some exceptions, some shots that I think do work. There was Superman, Clark Kent, Henry Cavill. I like having Christopher Maloney in this movie, because for years now he's just been Detective Stapler on Law and Order, and just to see him in a big budget superhero movie is really really cool. I love seeing him. And, I hate that he's just in this movie though. Like to have seen that character kind of continue on. Lois Lane, she'll do anything to get the story, even risking her life on a cliff face. I do love this idea that like the Fortress of Solitude is like literally like buried in ice and is like a ship. It's a old concept that's made new again. That Hans Zimmer score again. You know, Henry Cavill looks so young in this movie compared to how he looks in BVS and Justice League. He just, I mean, this movie came out in 2013, was made in around 2012-ish, 2013-ish. Then well, BVS didn't come out until 2016, so yeah, there was a few years in there to make him age a little bit. I also think his hair is a little bit longer in this movie than it is in BVS. I will say, like, I get flashbacks every time I watch this film to, you know, rewatch it, to watching it the first time. Um, First time I watched this movie, I just loved it. I was so big into this film when it was originally released. It was back during the time when I was really getting into movies. The Nolan Batman trilogy had just ended, and I absolutely love The Dark Knight Rises flaws and all. But yeah, to me, this is what I wanted a Superman movie to be like, a modern Superman movie. But as time has gone along, I'm not as big into this movie as I used to be. I see a lot of its problems. Doesn't mean I think the movie's bad or anything. No, it's just, to me, it's not as good as the first time or two when I watched it. And right there, we get to see a little bit of a Superman's strength and how he could just crush a robot with his hands. And I like that he cauterizes the wound with his heat vision. It's just cool concept. It's a cool introduction to Lois Lane and Superman meeting for the first time. Um, I like I like the idea that right from the get go they know who each other are because to me I guess stuff like this Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy and like the old Superman movie, there's always that idea of like the love interest doesn't know who the main hero is, and I don't know. I'm glad that we're getting away from that, and that like they know within the first movie uh, who they are, and I think that makes the relationship a little bit more interesting. And I just love that look of like, oh well, we saw a big giant ship fly from the sky. Okay. See, are we about 40 minutes into this movie? This movie does kind of, well, I mean, it's shorter than Batman versus Superman, but feels pretty pretty short. It's going by kind of fast. I like Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White. He's pretty great. Just that line. I can't print this, Lois. You may have hallucinated most of it. I do like the idea of the casting behind this movie because it's the same thing that Nolan did with Batman Begins. He wanted Nolan wanted Batman Begins to have um, a huge kind of ensemble cast of great actors like Superman the movie had. So he did that with the Dark Knight trilogy, and so Zack Snyder's doing the same thing here, filling it with great actors. Polar Bear. Uh, I don't know. I hope it's a reference to the polar bears in the Superman Lives script by Kevin Smith. Finally, Clark finally sees his real father. I like the scene. I like this dialogue. I like his reaction to being like, Kal-El, that's my name. But I don't know. There's just something weird about Russell Crowe just being shown to us like in this way, just straight up like he's physically there. It's just I wish there was something more to it. And I like this whole visual of like seeing the history of Krypton. It's This movie doesn't lack in visuals. I mean, Snyder knows how to make a beautiful and powerful image, and like this scene is a testament to that. I also have to praise David S. Goyer with some of the writing here. Dialogue can be a little preachy, a little hollow at times, but um, there's some good lines here, and the actors read them pretty well. I just don't think Zack Snyder is strong enough of a director to allow these actors to really have like a truly like powerful performance. Like to me, there's only like one or two instances in this movie where I think Henry Cavill really gives any semblance of, a personality to Clark Kent or Superman. He's just kind of hollow. And I feel like, if your main character is hollow, it kind of puts a downer on the whole movie and makes it feel like such a downer of a film. Because I think Henry Cavill is like a good choice for this. I mean, I've seen him before. I've seen him being extremely charismatic. Now, it could be like this is just like what Zack Snyder wanted. He wanted this kind of emptiness with him. But I just don't think it helps in making me care for the person. I'm just kind of seeing them go through the motions, if that makes any sense. I love how he pulls back to show the S. I love this music, and just the first time seeing him in the suit is just beautiful. These shots are so good. The way the cape flaps, everything, the music, it really makes this moment extremely powerful. I understand why people love this. And I like this notion that, Superman hasn't really flown before. And so, like, we're seeing him learning by jumping around first. We see him struggling with it. See, that right there, that little laugh. I wish there was more to that with him in this movie. Seeing him crash like that, they will fall. Time. They will join you in the sun. It's a very trailer line, like that's a line just built for a trailer, but I don't know. It's beautifully written, I think, and genuinely good, and I love seeing him taking off. This is great. This is really good. This I don't think looks as good. Doesn't hold up as well. I don't think it held up as well then. The shot of him like flying over, I don't know where that was, like Africa or whatever. Like that stuff doesn't hold up as well visually. Like you could tell it's a guy on a green screen. But these shots of like these close-ups of him like smiling and testing out his powers, it's so infectious. Then we get a almost like a little callback to Superman the movie right there. Him flying around Earth. I like that Lois is trying to figure out who this guy is. We get to really see her do some investigative journalism. It's fun. I don't know what else to say about that. It's just I like seeing it being done and like the way it's done in a movie. Jonathan Kent. Sorry, I'm just listening in on the scene. Okay. Um, this scene I just find all kinds of problematic. People have talked about it. Some people have tried to defend it, but I just really can't defend the decisions in this flashback. I'll maybe talk a little bit about it as it happens. But I mean, I won't lie. When I originally watched this movie, I bawled my eyes out in theater at Jonathan Kent's death. But on retrospect, it makes what should be a very impactful moment just kind of meh. Because I get the whole idea that Clark wants to finally, I guess, listen to Jonathan and not do what is in his instinct to do, which is to save him because, his father is afraid of what the world will think. But also, I think he still could have done it. He still could have done it, and I think my biggest problem is like this the way Jonathan Kent goes out in this movie. It's just it's framed really poorly to me. Like everybody's like, oh, he could clearly do this. Superman could have clearly saved him. Well, obviously, like the way like it's photographed and everything, and it just makes it so silly to me, especially this moment when he's just like, no, just let me die. Like, I get what they're going for. To me, just in that moment and the way it's done, it just doesn't work or make that much sense to me. He doesn't do it. because his dad told him not to. And, obviously there's some people that are gonna like that, and people like me that aren't. But I think mostly what I really don't care for is that it's I don't know, just the death of Pa Kent, especially in like the original movies, just done so much more powerfully because it's like, I have all these powers and I couldn't even save my dad. But here it's like I have all these powers and I couldn't save my dad because he told me not to and I trusted him. It just doesn't work as thematically well, as there's not any emotion in that for me. Hope that makes sense. Hope I cleared some of that up. Yeah, I like some of these images, like just the butterfly, the swing set, all that little stuff. Like, again, there's just some beautiful looking shots. Oh, LexCorp truck in the background. I don't remember seeing that one. I usually remember seeing the one like in Metropolis at the end of the movie. I like this right here. Seeing you definitely see the expression on her face, just like, she's like, oh, well, I know my son finally knows who he is, and it's like, how can I even compare now? There's some good stuff here. Some really good stuff. Henry Cavill is he does get a few moments to show some lightness and personality, but I feel like a lot of the movie he just doesn't get to do that much. Yes, there we get Swanwick, uh, who apparently is Martian Manhunter, which I'm not complaining. I don't know if that was the idea from the very beginning. Most likely, probably not, but I think it's a cool little thing. They took something that they knew they already had and they just kind of rolled with it. And let's see, how far are we into the movie? An hour and 2 minutes. Okay. Um, this I mentioned this in my review. Um, how the movie feels more like it has 2 acts instead of 3 acts. Because the first act deals with us learning about Superman. And usually, your third act happens when or right after the bad guys close in. And this is that moment. This is the bad guys close in moment. That is usually in like the second half of your movie, but here it is stuck in the first half of the movie. And so it makes the movie, to me, feel really disjointed, because you have this hour-long first act, and then it's like the rest of the movie is the third act. Now, I mean, obviously, if you broke it down, obviously there's three acts here, but just the way things are normally presented to us in a movie, it makes it feel like this is the beginning of the third act. And obviously it's not, because we still have an hour and 20 some minutes left. But I like this reveal of Zod. How it's like he's broadcasting and speaking in all these different languages for everybody to understand. It makes it so threatening. Oh, this is so cool. I know I just made some big complaints and everything I had with it, but like, I don't know. There's just so many cool things and ideas in this movie that when they happen, I have to mention them. I love it. He's so threatening in this. He's not even on screen, but just the way he says everything, the way things are written. General Zod is just such a threatening presence, and the idea that you can't even really see him on the screen is really cool. It's a cool image. Now, I I never understood, well, when watching this like originally and stuff and subsequent viewings, I never understood this like tabloid guy, or like, I don't know, conspiracy guy or whatever, the guy that's on the news and everything that Lois like leaks stuff to. I never really understood his place in the story, or like what his reason for existing was. Lois Lane trying to escape and then getting caught anyway. Love it. It's funny. Okay, that was a really funny shot. Just Christopher Maloney right there. Oh boy. See, and even here, it's like we're getting the Garden of Gethsemane moment in this film too. All is lost, and it's still only an hour and 10 minutes in. We're at the halfway point. Also, this scene feels so disjointed and out of place. I think because, it takes place before Jonathan Kent's death, and we're seeing it after we already seen that he died. I don't know. It just feels like something that maybe was supposed to take place earlier in the film, but they rearranged it maybe because it just doesn't feel like it fits here. It's just edited really weird. And again, it's not a bad scene, it's just odd. It's going to change the world. There's something cool too, because now we've seen both Pa Kent and Jor-El say their lines, and the teaser trailers have both of their lines being said, and I thought that was really cool. I like this idea here. A lot of Superman stuff that they like to push the religious imagery. Um, I don't know what this obsession is with connecting him to Christ. Uh, but like this Garden of Gethsemane thing, like the all is lost moment, I think it works. It's genuinely like a good moment, but the fact that it's taking place in a church and that Jesus is, right behind him in the center of the frame in the Garden of Gethsemane praying, it's just a little too much. And that is one complaint I will have with Zack Snyder with this movie and both Batman versus Superman is that he has these themes and these ideas and this religious imagery that he wants to show, but he doesn't know anything about being subtle with it or, how to make it mean something more than just, showing an image like, oh, this is his Garden of Gethsemane moment, so let me ride that home that it is the Garden of Gethsemane moment by showing an image of the Garden of Gethsemane moment. It's just, it's too much. It's like, it's even worse in the second film where we see three crosses in the background. It's just a little too much for me. I like this idea. He let them handcuff him, even though he can easily get out of the handcuffs. It feels like just such a Superman thing. I remember when I originally saw the film how I was disappointed that like the S symbol actually stood for hope on Krypton. I guess like I liked the idea that it was just the house symbol. Like I like the idea that Superman makes it mean hope because when people see this symbol, when people see this S, they will see hope. And I feel like just meaning it means hope is just kind of silly to me. Um, Obviously, the idea that I just said is kind of silly, but I think it still would have worked within this movie. Again, this feels like we're starting up the beginning of the third act of the film. Also, I just thought of this. Like, did they decide this was going to be the meeting ground that they're going to touch down at? Like, did they, like, specify this was the place? I mean, obviously, like, this isn't a problem with the movie or anything. It's just something fun to kind of nitpick at. Like, it's not a legitimate problem with the movie. Like, oh, I guess, like, they were going to meet here. Who arranged this meeting and everything? I like Feora's armor and stuff. She's basically the Ursa of the movie. She even kind of looks like her. Okay, this I'm like, how does he know about her? Why does she need to go on there? Like, I guess I could buy that he's looked up stuff on the World Wide Web and everything and knows that, like, she's been hunting down Superman, but, like, we don't get that scene, and it's just so odd that they are like, okay, this woman can go with us. Like, why? Is it because she's one of the main characters? Probably yes. Yeah, there's just some weird conveniences like that I don't necessarily like. I like I like this idea that humans can't breathe with the Kryptonian atmosphere because oftentimes, like say in something like Star Wars or Avengers Endgame or like Guardians of the Galaxy, it's so easy to be like, here's just breathable planets. It adds a bit of realism and it's a little different. Oh yeah, this is another really neat idea. Like it doesn't make the movie good or bad or anything. It's a neat idea that Superman hasn't adapted to Krypton's atmosphere, and so like he can't handle it. He's almost become so much like an Earthling that he's like no longer Kryptonian. So he bleeds, he throws up, he passes out. Now this scene, I I love this scene just on a visual level, on a thematic level, the dialogue. Be quiet for this scene. No, I need to comment on this. Okay, I do find it kind of odd. I mean, I guess they sort of did it with the original Superman movies, but they put Zod and them in the Phantom Zone just for them to be released like a couple hours later when the planet blows up. It's just, well, all that for nothing. It's like they almost didn't even have to be put into the Phantom Zone. Oh, that's a creepy image. Seeing there's little tying in things like right there that like works, makes it flow a little better. But it's problematic when there's things that don't tie in as well, that feel kind of neglected. I love this, seeing what Earth will look like with it being a rebuilt Krypton. The foundation has to be built on something. Like, it's such a grim image, but it's so haunting and creepy, and it, to me, it shows the stakes. An idea of him just sinking into all these bones, all these skulls. Oh, it it's great. I love it. I love kind of just dark stuff like that sometimes. I mean, some people don't like the grim uh, feeling of this movie, but I think in that instance, it's okay to have. It's cool. Oh man, Zod just lightens this movie up so much. Like, um, I mean, I won't lie. I've been pretty much enjoying all of this movie thus far, but for the past like little under an hour, I just haven't been as invested in the movie. But like once you put Michael Shannon on screen, I'm just glued to it. I think this character is really good, and I think the performance is really able to shine. Ugh. I also like that Lois Lane is pretty involved in the plot of this movie. Like she's not just somebody to save or anything. She definitely gets involved in the story and, even helps out, such as in this instance here, which is a really cool thing. I like the whole idea that Jor-El's consciousness is kind of taken over the ship. It's kind of creepy. I also think it's cool that they even took some time to be like, oh yeah, Jor-El was a scientist. He built things and he designed the ship that they're currently riding. So that's kind of neat that they kept something like that in. And now we're getting to the big, giant, long climax of the movie, which involves Smallville and Battle of Metropolis. Of course, not yet. We're still getting there, though. But if like there is like one huge positive I have to say with this film, it is that the fight scenes are a lot of fun to watch. This is fun just seeing Lois Lane go to town on some guys, shooting them, and Jor-El pointing the way. And I love that there's multiple Jor-Els running around. It's really interesting. It's really cool. Mm. Oh man. Oh man. I'm gonna sneeze. I hope I don't sneeze, and that'd be embarrassing on this. I like that. I don't care for that. Again, religious imagery with Superman. I don't care for. I get it, but like, do we have to keep on doing it? Like, I get why Zack Snyder wants to do it specifically. He's really big into looking at these superheroes as god like um, messiah figures, and it's just to me when I see it, it just kind of takes me out because I'm like, oh, look at what they're doing. I'm not thinking about how what it means in the context of the movie at that point. Oh, and also I guess they know where Kal-El lives now. Now, now the battle of Smallville begins. Duh, I'm excited. I think this is like a really good, like, really good action scene. I love Diane Lane's line, just, go to hell. Oh yeah, that's right. They're looking for the Codex. But obviously, they're looking in the wrong place. Superman is the Codex. I'm still not exactly sure like what the Codex does. Is the Codex like what they're making the babies from? Or is it like information on Krypton? And how does the giant skull thing work? I feel like it's something that's just not that well developed. Like, it might be conceptually well developed, like Zack Snyder and David S. Goyer had this idea of like what it was, but obviously they didn't put that all into the movie because, exposition. I love that his cloak catches fire and he's just like, screw it, taking it off. Another cool concept that I think isn't as well developed as it could have been, especially because, later on Zod needs to be able to fight Superman mano a mano. But I like this idea that he's having trouble getting used to Earth's atmosphere because he can literally hear everyone and everything, and it's just sensory overload. It's a callback to that scene earlier on in the movie with young Clark Kent. It's so interesting. I like stuff like that when it ties up to a later setup. There's a setup and a payoff. I feel like this has to be like these two have to be like a callback to Superman 2 with like stuff going on there and like the two other villains that are with Terrence Stamp's Zod. Honestly, like this movie isn't as hopeless as people make it out to be. Like, I mean, obviously, like I'm complaining about a couple things here and there and everything. There's stuff I don't like, but like the stuff like, oh, the movie's too dark and everything. Like, obviously, there's some people that aren't gonna like that, but like, really, the movie's not as grim and dark as they make it out to be. And obviously, it's Zack Snyder's vision. He can do whatever he wants. Like, yeah, typically the Superman stories aren't like this, but he's not doing those stories. He's doing his own thing, and that's fine. Also, IHOP. IHOP, 7-Eleven, Sears. Again, things I don't particularly care for in the movie, like just the fact that he's crashing into real world things. It just Zack Snyder wanted it to be this kind of like realism, but it just ends up being really distracting. Also, I did like that he saw the bully kid like looked at him and it looked like for a second that he recognized him. Um, it's a nice little small thing. Oh, I love this shot here. Like Superman just like being pushed around, jumping around. It's really good. Oh, Sears. I'm glad they got rid of a lot of the product placement stuff with Batman versus Superman. Really, all they have is the Jolly Rancher. Dang. Again, a little thing that doesn't make the movie any better or any worse, but I like the idea that when they use heat vision, the veins around their eyes just start to bulge and stuff. Like it really forces them to like use a part of their body that doesn't typically get used like that. It's cool. There's a lot of moments in this movie that like are just really cool to look at, cool to think about, even though it doesn't give you a lot of time to dwell on anything that much. Feora kicking ass. I love like how fast she is, and she's just like going Super Saiyan, flashing from here to there, and everything across the screen. I like this kind of like rivalry that Feora and Christopher Maloney's character kind of have. Like it's not much, but like the idea of these two just kind of duking it out, even though they don't really get to, is kind of cool. Thankfully, Christopher Maloney was saved, so he could save the day a little bit later on. Now, I remember there was a trailer that showed that line, but it didn't have the special effects with it. When she said that line, for every human you save, we will kill a million more. Dang, like so much destruction. Zack Snyder loves his destruction, and a lot of people hate his destruction because that was one of the big complaints people had with was like all the destruction that happened. But it's like casualties happen. Um, I think maybe a problem with this movie and like just Zack Snyder as a whole and how he's just not something subtle is like the movie clearly has like this edge to it of like being not necessarily philosophical, but you know, there's there's more to it. There's some really like thematic elements to it. It's trying to say something, but Zack Snyder is also focused on action and not necessarily dwelling on these ideas and concepts that much. And so the movie ends up feeling just kind of loud at times with the illusion of depth. And that's something I say a lot with Batman versus Superman is like it's a movie that has the illusion of being deeper than it actually is. Like the seeds are there, but they don't dwell on them enough. Like I like David S. Goyer as a writer and stuff. Same with like Chris Terrio. Uh, I think is a solid writer with who did Batman vs Superman. But I think you need a director that knows how to handle these ideas, and you need writers that can also handle and develop these ideas and not be pushed around by like the director or the studio to be able to flesh out the ideas, if that makes any sense. All right, now we're in like the third act proper, I guess you could say, because we are at yeah, there's about 40 plus minutes left of the movie. Still got a still got a lot of action to get through. I will say this movie is kind of getting a little tiring. It just after a while it gets pretty exhausting because there's aside for like the opening like 15 minutes there's really not a lot of action that goes on. And then once the action starts up, it's just an excess of it. There's so much of it that it does get a little exhausting. I also like the idea of the world engines that they're placed on both sides of the earth to terraform the world. Like there's also just something like genuinely terrifying about like seeing a giant thing in the sky like that. And I think they do a good job of like seeing like people on the streets like seeing that for the first time. It's scary. I think that's what Zack Snyder and Goyer were going for with this. But also we get the giant beam in the sky, which a lot of superhero movies were doing back then. You just had to have a giant beam in the sky for your climax. It was kind of a necessity. It's just something funny that's connecting a lot of movies like that. And oh my gosh, all those people. Yeah, Zack Snyder's not subtle with the 9/11 imagery, which I don't have a problem with. There's some people that have like a problem with this, but I think it shows the stakes. Like people are dying. People people are losing their lives on a huge level. Mm, I don't care for that type of like exposition, especially so late into the film. Like the dialogue just doesn't feel as like natural to me. It just feels like movie dialogue at that point. Wait a second. I just thought of something that I was talking about earlier. How like I wish there was a way for Russell Crowe to be in something like Justice League again. Like that'd just be really cool to see him again. But obviously he can't because Superman's little key code thing is in Zod's ship, which well, no, Zod's ship is in Batman versus Superman, so I don't know. Russell Crowe could have returned. You see, you see what I was talking about. It's really hard to watch a movie and just completely know everything to talk about once you're reviewing it because you have so many ideas that enter your head. You just can't talk about them all unless you're actually watching it like I am now. So, yeah, I used to watch this movie quite a bit. I saw it twice in theaters, I think, and then like when it was released on DVD and Blu-ray, I watched it at least 3 or 4 times after that. But then after that, I just kind of didn't watch it as much, and just at that point, I was watching stuff that talked about how like it wasn't a great film or anything, and I myself kind of thought of that as I thought on it, but rewatching it a couple weeks ago, I still kind of like this film. Obviously, I've talked about it for almost 2 hours, and I obviously have my problems with it, but still think it's good for the most part. But I hate that they just kind of like Zod hones in on everything and is like, all right, I'm I could deal with the atmosphere now. It's really fast. I obviously know like it's there so that we can get to the climax of the movie so that Superman can fight Zod, but I don't know. I don't care for it as much. Now this I wonder with the tentacle stuff. I wonder if it's a reference to the giant mechanical spider that was going to be in the Superman Lives script and movie. It just feels like a callback to that, and if it is, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I like it when they reference things to things that never actually got made. Like I don't even know what Superman's fighting right now. Like I don't know what it is. Kryptonium technology to the extreme. Man, just there's so much going on right now. And again, like the cinematography is just kind of headache inducing with like the way it's filmed, but I haven't really had much of a problem with it throughout like the second act of the movie or anything, but like every now and then it's just kind of giving you a headache. I still don't really understand like Jor-El in this. Like he's supposed to be like the consciousness of Jor-El, but like he's able to like form his own thoughts in a way. Like obviously Snyder has said like obviously he's not like capable of love or anything, but like I don't know. Dang, I love that line. I remember really liking that line when I originally saw it. I will retake, re, but I will rebuild Krypton atop his bones. But yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say earlier. I guess it doesn't really matter at this point. Oh, we're getting towards my favorite part of the movie, like my favorite like image. Uh, my favorite image of the movie is something that's so small, but like it to me it's so impactful. I almost see it as like a reference or like a callback to a sort of similar scene to Superman Returns, but we'll see it in a few minutes. man, I like this. Superman's about to save the day. Everything's building, building and building and building. We're honestly right here, it's structured really well because we're at like the 2 hour mark, and the end of sequence 7 is here. Like we're halfway through the third act, and it feels like, well, the climax of like the first half of the third act. There we go. I love it. I like that moment of horror on all their faces and like the acceptance that like Jenny Olsen and Perry White have on their face. It's like this is our last moment. All right. This is it. This is my favorite scene. My favorite shot. That there with his hand just reaching out towards the sun and trying to grasp it in his hands, along with the music, but the image itself is so simple and powerful to me. I I love it. Um, that's what she said. Hmm. Sorry, I'm just getting wrapped up into this climax. Should be commentating, but I'm just too into the movie at this point. Now, obviously, there's going to be people that aren't going to exactly like that Superman causes this ship to fall down to Earth, and as much as I don't like it as much and causes even more destruction, uh, it's it's whatever. It's Zack Snyder's vision. It's what he wanted to do. And obviously, in the end, it's a dang movie, guys. It's just a movie. Okay, that's kind of stupid. Not gonna lie. They just had to tilt it and move it a little bit. Basically, only reason for it was to add a few minutes of tension. Oh, dang. There we go. I do like that. Uh, Christopher Maloney saves the day. And initially, at least in the script, this was kind of like the full-on climax of the movie. There was no like big battle with Zod or anything. Everybody got swept up into the Phantom Zone, and Superman saved the day. But nope, that's not how this went. There's still a little bit of movie left. And boy, Metropolis looks. Uh, Joke doesn't really land. Especially not when Metropolis is destroyed like that. But yeah, I don't have a problem with Metropolis's destruction or anything. I just, especially in this movie, like I Zack Snyder doesn't really do anything to really say anything about it. Obviously, he has something to say about it like later on, but like it's just 9/11 imagery, and then like that's as deep as it goes. But I think in his mind and his he wanted to do something with that, but he just couldn't conceptualize it as well. Although I'm glad that Zod got to stick around for one more fight just so we could get more Michael Shannon just hamming and acting it up. One final showdown. And I love like Zod when he does his heat vision, just like how much more like powerful and chaotic it is, and it's almost like he can't stop doing it. Like it hurts him to do it. That's a cool shot. Seeing Superman exit it with all that destruction. Man, people get out of the way. That's another thing people don't talk about. People are just standing around. Dang. I love the sound of those punches, though. Like, it's also impactful. Was that some CGI? Like, some CGI Zod? It looked kind of obvious. I love how he's not exactly flying, he's just like climbing up the building like an ape. I like that line. It's because Zod's getting his ass whooped, and he's like, "You trained on a farm?" Oh man, we're in final boss mode. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Zack Snyder, just like with the testosterone filled like action that's in his movies, should just make a live action Dragon Ball movie. Hopefully, it could be better than Dragon Ball Evolution. I don't know. Kind of love that movie though. Not gonna lie, it's bad, but I like it. Ah, yes, the old fling him with his cape trick, and he just crashes through 50 buildings. Man, Bruce Wayne's got to really be upset about that satellite. Well, here's this controversial scene, but I'll give my 2 cents on it. I've talked about this in my review, but I don't have a problem with Superman killing Zod. I have a problem with how this scene is framed and set up, and I have a problem that there wasn't any setup for this. As somebody that is into screenwriting, you need to have your setup and your payoff. So I think there needed to be a scene earlier on where Superman says, I will not kill. And then in that instance, uh, he reveals that, he has to kill. Or vice versa, he kills at the end of this movie and it hurts him so much that he decides not to kill. That they sort of are going that route with that really great yell from Henry Cavill. Just the emotion on his face, the feeling of like what he's just done. But I think it just could have been handled better and still have it in the movie. Like, I think people are too wrapped up into the whole idea of like they know what the character is and how the character should act. And the thing is, again, it's Zack Snyder's vision. Uh, whoever is doing it, it's their vision, and they can do with it whatever they want because it's their movie. Nobody owns Superman but the people making it. But I will say, this scene comes right after that moment. I think we could have like dwelled on that a little bit longer. Maybe there was a longer scene that was cut that dwelled on it. uh, a lot of the comedy in this movie just makes me groan. It's really just not that funny. Just stale. Okay, I love this stuff here. It was in the first trailer. Just these almost handheld versions of just seeing Clark with the kind of Superman cape acting like a superhero. It's really, really good and shows hints at, I think, what this movie was trying to be, but doesn't really pan out. Because it tries to be a lot of other things too. And it just ends up being kind of like a loud action movie by the end when I think it was definitely going for this more character driven story. And I think like when it tries to be that, it's at its best. I also like the ending of this movie. Just Clark Kent going to the Daily Bugle, putting on the glasses. There's just something very Superman about like this ending. This ending makes me genuinely happy. Like I think it's a great way to end the movie. And there we go. That was Man of Steel. My own commentary for it. Those of you that stuck around, I actually hope that you enjoyed some of the stuff that I had to say. I know sometimes I can be a little awkward and trail off and everything, but this is just something I thought about doing, and maybe it could help people understand why I think the way I do about the film by being able to talk about um, things a little bit more in depth, especially like as they are happening throughout the film. But ultimately, I think this is a pretty alright movie. I understand the people that don't like it, but there's some criticisms that I agree with, and then others where I'm just like the people that don't care about like this incarnation of like, oh, Superman shouldn't do this and everything. Like those criticisms to me aren't valid because this movie is doing its own version and they're allowed to do that version. What matters is if what they're doing is actually good. And for the most part, I think what they're doing is good. There's a lot more of this movie that I like and even love more than I hate. Um, it has its problems, tone in particular, pacing. The movie is really slow in the second act, and also the fact that it feels like the third act begins like halfway through the movie just makes the movie just feel so off to me. But there's things I like. I like the actors portraying these characters when they're able to give some charisma to the performances. I think it's really good. I like the beginning with Krypton. As convoluted as some of the stuff is on that, uh, Michael Shannon as Zod is just fantastic. He's my favorite thing in the movie. The music is also really good. The kind of more emotional tracks, I think, help those emotional moments really land. But then there's other stuff like I don't think the flashbacks work as well. There's some stuff that I don't think works with like the death of Pa Kent. But altogether, I think this is still a solid movie. It's problematic. There's stuff I don't like in it, but it's pretty good. And like, I'd still probably give this a 6 out of 10. It's on the higher end of a 6 out of 10. It's closer to a 7 out of 10 than it is a 5 out of 10. Let's just say that. Yeah, I guess really all there is the credits left, so I might as well just kind of end everything here. But yeah, thank you guys for those that stuck through to the end to listen to my commentary on this movie. If people watch all this and genuinely like what I had to say, maybe I'll do this in the future. Maybe I'll do this with Batman versus Superman even. I might have to have something to drink for that. But yeah. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.